What is going on, my homies? We're gonna do a video that I literally have never ever done before, which surprises me. I was going back in my videos and I'm like, have I never seriously done this video? And I haven't. And we're gonna talk about metal. You know how you go in McDonald's and like you go up to the cash register and buy your double cheeseburger or whatever, and the person's got like metal dangling all off their face, and you're like, okay, we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about this kind of metal. Yeah, flutter spoons. Catching bass on flutter spoons, not just big ones, medium, small. I'm gonna give you kind of the in-depth juice on how to fish them, which ones to pick in each size, and what kind of tackle, what kind of rods, reels, and line you're gonna wanna run, because I love fishing them. They catch big bass, and especially during the summer or the dead of winter, it's an awesome tool to catch you some more fish. So hit that like and subscribe button. I got Swimsuit Girl next to me. I promise I'll give you a sneak peek. Let's get to it. So first off, what is a flutter spoon? A flutter spoon's a little bit bigger spoon. Basically, there's jigging spoons and flutter spoons. It's something usually that you're gonna cast out more. Maybe not slang it like a million miles out, but you're gonna get it out in front versus a jigging spoon, which oftentimes you're fishing more vertically. There's a few different spoons that I like, and they have variations both in size and the way they behave, and that's kind of how you pick them. So let's start with the one that I've been using the most lately, and my buddy Jacob Wall put me onto this one. That's the one I have in my hand right here. This is a nickel spoon. I believe this is the 1 1/4 ounce. It's about 5.5 inches. This is really your classic flutter spoon. This one's got a super cool pattern. Just as a note, and you're gonna see it across all these, the patterns I like for these spoons are a little bit broken up. You'll notice this is kind of like a shattered glass shad. I like that because you don't get just a straight mirrored reflection when that spoon is going up and down in the water column. I think it's a little more natural because obviously, you know, like fish have scales, right? So when they reflect in the water, it's sort of a dispersed light reflection versus one big like shadow flashing mirror looking thing. So shattered glass, broken up patterns. Another little trick you can do is if the spoon that you like only comes in just a straight chrome look, grab yourself a little sandpaper, really light grit, and go this way and go this way, and you actually sand it a little to break up that pattern. The reason the nickels is kind of cool is because of the way it falls. So one of the downsides to it is it doesn't fall super fast, but what it does is it has a very subtle kind of roll fall as it goes down after you snap it up. So that's when I get a lot of my bites is on the fall. Usually when you stroke that bait up, when it stalls and on that fall is when you're gonna get the majority of your bites when you're fishing any of the flutter spoons that we're talking about today. But this size, in general, it mimics a lot of different bait fish, from a bluegill to a shad, medium size. It's very castable. You can bomb this thing. It's super easy to fish. So if you're gonna get one, start off with something that's like 5 to 6 inches, about 1 1/4. It's the perfect starting point. Usually what I'll throw this guy on is about a 7.5 to a 7.6, heavy to medium heavy with a little bit stiffer tip. 20-pound fluorocarbon. With all of these spoons, you want to use a faster reel, whether it's an 8-2-1, 7-2-1, something faster than a 6-speed reel. So you're actually going to rip this bait up a lot like you'd rip a trap, and it's going to dart up and do this sort of dance, and then you're going to kind of follow it down. And that's actually one of the keys with the nickels, is when you follow it down, it's doing this sort of hovering kind of, I don't know, rolling back and forth. It's a very unique sort of action. But you don't need super light line. One, because it is a heavier bait. We talked about it weighs about 1 1/4, 1 1/2. Some of the spoons I'm going to show you weigh up to like 2.5, 3 ounces. The other thing is it's a reaction bite. You know, like these fish, when they eat it, dude, they absolutely unload on it. You're either gonna feel that tick or you're gonna see your line jump and you're gonna set that hook. And using that heavier rod, you need enough line to accommodate that impact of that hook set when you actually hit them. The other thing too is, and this is sort of an outcome tip, with spoons, when you hook a good fish, my philosophy is always you get 1 to 2 jumps and then you're SOL. And what that means is you lose a lot of fish on a spoon. It's just because it's an open treble hook and there's so much weight in front of the treble hook, it bangs on the hook and sort of wobbles around. It's not super like fun and sportsmanlike, but the best way to land a spoonfish is when you hook them, you reel. And you reel, don't give them any drag, don't play the fish, do not let them jump, and boat flip that joker. I've boat flipped up to, I think I even boat flipped a 9.5 pounder on a spoon once. The reality is the more they jump, the more opportunities they have to throw that hook and really just lose a lot of fish. Even if you're upgrading hooks, you know, going to those triple grips, going to a stouter hook, it just happens because there's all that weight out in front of it. And I'll show you a little sneaky one that I got. It's this guy too. And it's a Nichols once again, but this guy's only about, I think it's 4.5 inches, weighs about 3/4 of an ounce. It does get down a little bit slower. One little trick you can use when you're casting these spoons out and you want them to get down fast, cast it out, let it sink for about a second, and just pop your rod tip. What actually happens is the spoon is falling like this, right? It rights the spoon upright, and that spoon falls directly down, so you're able to get down to where you want to get down to and start fishing a lot quicker. So a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter. I'll throw this on like a 7.3 medium heavy, still like 18 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. I still like that heavier line because I'm still jerking it up and I'm still getting a reaction bite. The other thing too is it allows this thing, using that heavier line, to fall a little bit slower, so I think it just adds to the presentation. If you're looking for something that goes a little faster up and down, as we talked about, that Nichols has a very slow roll as it goes back down to the bottom after you're jerking it up. This is actually a Talon. I'll put links to all these at Tackle Warehouse down in the description box. This is a Talon flutter spoon or casting spoon. What's nice about the Talon is it has a different action. What's crap about the Talon is literally the gear, the terminal tackle it comes with is crap. Like total crap. The Nichols comes with a good hook, a good swivel. This guy comes with nothing. So you have to put a swivel on this guy. I put a little Savage Gear kind of sneaky hook on there. You have to change it out. The biggest difference action-wise that you see between this guy, the Talon, and the Nichols spoon is the Talon falls much quicker. So basically, instead of that slow rolling action, the Talon has more of kind of like a bottom drop sort of roll, I guess. But what you'll find is when you jerk it up, this guy will get down to the bottom a lot faster. You're not going to find yourself following it down for 1,000, 2,000. It's going to be back down to the bottom almost immediately after you jerk it up and give it a little bit of slack. I kind of run like 3 spoons pretty much, and if they're not biting those, I don't bother, because these 3 kind of fulfill all the types of action that I'm looking for, and that's Mr. Mag, like the Ben Parker. This is the beast, dude. 5 years ago, you probably saw this thing blow up. Once again, a Nichols spoon. You can see it has that shattered, broken glass kind of reflection to it. This thing, I think it's like 8 inches. It comes in at like 2 ounces, something like that, 2.5 ounces. I literally throw this on my mat flipping rod. As we talked about when we flip mats, I like a rod that's longer but has some tip to it. So that rod provides me the backbone I need, but it also provides me enough tip to actually work what is an open hooked kind of presentation. So that's a 711 heavy action rod, pretty stout, pretty big. I'll run it on either 20 pound or even sometimes 25 pound fluorocarbon. Comes with a gaff of a hook. The reason I like that rod too is I'm still boat flipping these fish. You would be amazed at the size of fish. Every fish will bite this. I've literally caught like 10-inch fish on this thing, but when it comes to the big ones, you almost have to boat flip them because there's so much weight, so much clunk to this big metal in front that when you hook them, it's just banging on the hook. You gotta be boat flipping these fish. It seems so counterintuitive, but really, in my opinion, that is the best way to like close the deal on these guys. So with this guy, it is a very erratic action and it falls very fast. So this thing gets down to the bottom quick, especially if I'm fishing deeper than 20 to 25 feet of water. This is one that I want to play with. Don't be intimidated by the size. As I mentioned, I've caught smaller fish on it and I've caught 11.5 pound fish on it. They all bite it. It's really a reaction, and the nice part is in a lot of situations, in Guntersville they've seen it quite a bit, but on a lot of lakes they haven't seen something this big. And as we all know, with the whole glide bait thing that's going on, fish react to these giant baits. You know, they can be intimidated, but they're always curious. So it's sort of a sneak thing, and it allows you to get a spoon down into some serious depths, 25, 30, 35 feet of water. When you're fishing this thing, you're doing the same kind of retrieve where you're jerking it up. What you'll find though is just like that talon spoon, it gets down very quickly. So you got to kind of jerk it up, and oftentimes what I'll do is, like we talked about stalling a trap, I will jerk it up and leave my rod tip up for just a second and then try to follow it down to slow that fall just a hair. I don't want my line super taut when it comes to a spoon, because you want the spoon to have enough looseness in the line, enough slack, not total slack, but sort of controlled slack to do the roll that it needs to do. But at the same time, with this big guy, it falls so quick, you need to control it a little bit more than some of those smaller spoons. The other things that you can do is a double pop. So basically, a lot of times you're fishing a spoon where fish are up off the bottom. They're sort of suspended a little bit, 4 or 5 foot off the bottom. Sometimes those fish get 8 foot off the bottom, 10 foot off the bottom. So in order to actually reach those fish, you need to pop that spoon higher. Usually it'll jump about 6 or 7 foot off the bottom, but if you double pop it, you're giving it sort of like a different kind of action, a double dart, almost like when a crankbait rolls off a couple rocks or off a big shell bar when you're cranking it down. The other thing too is it gets it higher in the water column. Another sneaky retrieve, and you guys saw it in an earlier video, I think a little while ago when we were fishing offshore with schooling fish, is actually like a reel retrieve. It's a little tricky to do, but basically with that 7-2-1, you're gonna cast it out, you're gonna get it down to where you wanna get it, and instead of pointing the rod kind of at a 45 and doing that stroking type of retrieve, you're actually gonna point the rod at the bait, just like a crankbait, and you're gonna do like 2 to 5 fast reels, and then you're gonna kind of, I don't know, push the rod towards the bait for a second to give it a little bit of slack so it can kind of fall backwards and do that roll. It's a real sneaky retrieve, and it allows you to fish the bait a little bit faster. FYI though, it does keep the bait off the bottom a lot more. Oftentimes with that jerk and following it down, you're fishing the bottom, but you're fishing in a vertical manner back to the boat. With this, you're fishing very horizontally. So you'll reel, stop, it falls back a little bit, and you'll reel again. It's a lot like a hair jig presentation to an extent. Grab yourself a flutter spoon, give it a try, especially that big one. Dude, catching a fish on that big one is like catching a fish on a big glide. It is so much fun, and it's an achievement, and it will blow your mind. Like the little ones. Everybody loves catching big fish, but the little ones that will actually eat that thing, they will be smaller than the bait sometimes. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you got any questions or anything to add, drop them down in the comments box. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you back out on the water. Tight line, homies. What?